Thank you for staying with us. On this angle of the conversation, we'll talk about power. Have your lights been on? And if not, what has the situation been? And how would you characterize it? Dumsor or something else? I slept in darkness for some great lengths yesterday after returning from church. Eventually, the light did come on, but people have complained about 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours without light. What is the situation? Why are we where we are? Joining us for a conversation from the Institute for Energy Studies, Amoasi VII. He is Executive Director of the IES. Nana, memoache.
Yodo Anape, and I'm happy the way you guys are highlighting our local language this morning and bringing it to the fore.
Medasi Bebre. Yo. So let's get to the meat of the matter. Power has become a problem. What do you know? How much can you share in respect of why we are where we are and what the reality is on the ground?
Well, thanks for having me. And another point of correction is Institute for Energy Security, not Studies.
Institute for Energy
Security.
Security. Thank you very much, sir.
Good one. What we know is that the power, the quantum of power turned out by the power producers is not enough to meet our demand. So that's what the problem is. And if power turned out is lower than the load, then of course parts must be fed, or that load must be shared, and the one that is in excess must be shared to accommodate what has been produced. If we don't do that, there will be either low voltage or brownout or blackout. And so what's happening is we are producing less than we demand as a country.
And looking at the current situation we're facing then, what would you say are the areas we really ought to be tackling? Because there's the WAPCO issue, gas, there are the IPPs, among others. It appears we have quite a situation hanging around our necks. Where exactly is the thrust of the problem?
Yes, we are having, less power generation because fuel to produce the power has been a challenge, particularly production of power from the Eastern Enclave that largely rely on natural gas from Nigeria. We own Nigeria, and so the flow of gas from Nigeria has not been as we require. It's been erratic since the beginning of the year. And so power producers, they are having less fuel to power their plants. That is the major problem that we have. And it is the case because we have a financial challenge in the sector. That is why at one point in time, you will have to endure what we are going through because either the producers are demanding money, fuel suppliers are demanding money, or the transporter of the natural gas, like WAPCO, once in a while will also come, demand of government to fulfill its commitment to that body. And so it's a financial challenge that brings us to this point.
It's a financial challenge. Have we done enough on the financial front then to address this crucial problem? Because the IPPs, we've been told about the debt stock. Some would say that doesn't even include some of the major IPPs, and that dust is being thrown in our eyes. We've been told that payments will be made by the ECG on behalf of this or that, but sometimes the picture is not so clear financially. What is the true state, the true picture you see?
Yes, we are tempted to believe that the president, instead of being led, is misled by managers of the power sector and probably other stakeholders. So he makes statements that are far from the case.
Nana, please correct me. Did you just say that the president sometimes is misled by the managers of the power sector?
We suspect so. Because the president comes to tell us as Ghanaians that under his tenure, we've never experienced so. It is not the case. We've experienced so on numerous occasions. Once in a while, we experience that as Ghanaians. And it's the consumer that defines what he or she is going through. It's not for the managers of the economy to then we are finished. We're finished. And so we tell President that.
Oh, it's unfortunate. I think we just lost Nana Amoasi, the 7th Executive Director, Institute for Energy Studies. We'll try to get him back on the line, even as we prepare to also bring in Yusuf Suleiman, energy expert. He joins us all the way from Oman, that oil-rich country. We'll try to get Nana Amoasi back. But Mr. Suleiman, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. We'll get right back to your co-panelists, but to hear from you as well. You followed all the way from Oman how things are going in Ghana in the power sector. Nana Amoasi was just referencing what the president says, that under his tenure there has never been Dumsor, and he says no, that is not the case. But what do you see? In recent times, we've had a lot of power outages. Just yesterday, leading to this morning, I had a power outage, and it's been frequent. What's your take? What is happening?
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry. So these developments are not strange. I think the last time I had this conversation with you, I said we will come back to the same point if you continue to use the same strategy to solve a problem, and unless we think out of the box. What is the issue here? If you look at what is happening, there is a precedent, a huge precedent to that. We've grown so overconfident with our generation sector to the extent that we thought everything was okay. And then we stopped playing a lot of politics with the fact that we have excess capacity. And I've always argued that that is outmoded. We have to move away from saying having excess capacity, because it doesn't respect the senses of Ghanaian to say that we have excess capacity. Yes, we have a bit of them, so it doesn't match up. So what is the case here? If you look at Ghana generation mix, I always say that, Ghana dependable capacity in terms of how much power we generate. I always say that we are always on the cliff. We are always sitting on tenterhooks. Why? Because if you look at what is the dependable capacity that we have, about 3,500, and our peak demand, especially somewhere in the evenings, they are almost at a point in time touching that figure. And so we knew about this. And so it's just going to take a little bit of a problem or a hitch from one place to the other to send us into erratic power supply that we have. And we have a couple of them, a couple of warning signs that were waiting for us by the end of the year, and we move into the new year. So it's not surprising. What were the problems? I can tell you on authority that if you don't make concerted effort to add a little bit of more capacity within our generation, it's going to be very difficult. Any slight glitch on any of the problems, be it gas supply, be it any technical issue on the supply point, be it money to fire this, thermal plants, we're going to have ourselves to blame because of how closeness the dependable capacity to what we are able to what the consumer needs at the end of on peak demand period. So yes, and then we've had beautiful opportunities that we let them slip by. For instance, Ghana is an oil producing country, and then we treat our energy and power sector as segregated entities. That is not a good strategy. In fact, the power sector thrives on petroleum sector, especially our kind of generation mix, where we have the thermal component composing a huge sum of our generation mix, with the renewables not coming up. We should have had a very firm handle on our gas supply, where we can ensure that we're able to supply gas from east to west, and we develop our gas infrastructure to be able to do. We haven't done that. If you remember, we had something called foundation gas. Foundation gas was with us. Talo was supplying us with foundation gas, over 200 billion cubic feet of gas supplied to Ghana free of charge for a considerable period of time. What did we do? We failed to take huge advantage of that. So I say that we failed in our strategy phenomenally or abysmally, and so we have to rethink and stop doing politics with energy sector. Other than that, it will come back to hit you. So what are the way forward? The whole thing is about finances. Finances has been the issue, and the way this, these various generations, these various power, value chains are streamlined. They are so intricately linked seamlessly that if there is an inherent problem within one generation, one component, the cascading impact on the other components are going to be dire. And here, our weak link has always been the distribution component of it. And so, because that's where the cash flow comes. If you don't maintain appreciable cash flow within the distribution arm of the value chain, then the transmission and then the generation, we are always going to have ourselves to blame. IPPs are standing, WAPCO is standing. If we have technical issues, with a bit of some pockets of technical issues, if you don't solve these issues, and they are solvable, it's not that they are not solvable. We just have to take the bull by the horn, make concerted effort, and be deliberate. That power is key to our energy security. Our economic survival. And if you don't do that, and we keep complaining about problems, here and there, without having this pragmatic solution, bringing them on board to solve them, then we'll have ourselves to blame. And at this moment in time, Ghana cannot afford to knock out even a megawatt. I can say that. We can't afford to let even a single megawatt out of the power pool basket because of what I just painted. We haven't added anything substantial within our generation mix because we're so much overconfident championing that we have excess capacity, and we haven't done that. That requires investment. Where will the investment come in? Where the investment will come in is when we are able to maintain appreciable, sustainable cash flow from the distribution arm. That is where we need to do a lot of work.
Hold for me. Let me bring back Nana Amoasi VII, Executive Director, Institute for Energy Security. Nana Amoasi, I lost you. You were making a point.
Yes, we got to the point where I did conclude that we are going through this situation because of financial constraints, and that until that is solved, we are going to continue to do so for a very long time. It's not just this year alone. Next year we may be experiencing more Dumsor, because there are two things beyond ensuring that you have a good or robust transmission and distribution grade. Install capacity, adequacy in install capacity counts so much. Then, of course, fuel supply issue. Yes, I have concluded that even for install capacity, the previous government dealt with that adequately, and to the point where today our install capacity is in excess of 5,200 megawatts. Our dependable capacity is somewhere around 4,900. However, available capacity has become an issue. That's one point. Then the fuel supply challenge comes in. Are you able to pay the suppliers for the fuel? Are you able to pay the transporters of the fuel? If you don't manage your revenue in the sector, your revenue collection, and ensure that we have cost-reflective tariffs, the debt in the sector will be increasing day by day. And then your financial challenge will be worsened. And so we see that this is what is playing out. Because we shouldn't have been where we are today. We shouldn't have been seeing Dumsor at all. Because you have enough install capacity at close 2019. Then, of course, at close 2016, you have EFLA generating almost $650 million a year. So by 2023, EFLA have generated for you that free cash flow of more than $3.5 billion. It could defray the legacy debt at close to 2015. But today, we still have some of the debt, and our debt in the sector is increasing. Today, I'm sure by next year, our available capacity will not be, even our dependable capacity will not be enough.
Even our what capacity will not be enough?
Our installed capacity.
Installed capacity, right. By next year.
Down for 3 years complaining about excess capacity, and we failed to invest to bring on board other plants. Trust me, by next year, mid of next year, our power issue will be worse. Whoever inherits or forms the next government will have to struggle to deal with this power sector challenge we have.
Mr. Suleiman, is that something you share, a sentiment you share, that by next year, by the middle of next year, our power situation would be even worse, regardless of who takes power?
Is that directed to me? Sorry.
Yes, yes, it is directed to you.
Yes, exactly what I said. Whoever takes, whoever forms the next government will struggle to deal with power sector challenges because the debt in the sector is increasing day by day, and government hasn't made any effort to address it. Government owes GMPC, government owes WAPCO, government owes GRIDCO, government owes ECG, government owes IPP. Everybody in the value chain is owned by government. And ECG is not collecting enough. In fact, I have applauded their current revenue mobilization drive, and the gentleman there is doing it so well. However, the commercial losses, the technical losses within the UCG and GRIDCO system is so high that if you give them 1,000 megawatts, I'm not sure they can account for more than 700 megawatts. So that 300 megawatts becomes another debt in itself. Then, the cash waterfall system, the little they collect, that should have been placed in that cash waterfall system to be distributed fairly to all the utilities. It's not working. Agabo,
You're right.
we are sinking in debt in the sector.
In the midst of all this, Nana Amoasi, and I'll pose that question to both of you. In the midst of all of this, we heard Mr. President speak about solar energy, and we've heard plans about that in the SONA, among others. How crucial is it for us to find our way to green energy and tap into natural sources? I'll start with you, Nana Amoasi.
Well, so to invest in green energy is something that we ourselves have committed ourselves to. As a signatory to the Paris Agreement, that we should ensure that we have a net zero, situation by 2050. It behooves on us to advance to that very domain in the bid to contribute to combating climate change, whether it's bringing some hardship, particularly in Africa. It's affecting, our crop generation. It's affecting our weather. It's affecting livestock and species and all that. And so we must move to the greener space. Fortunately, technology around renewable energy is growing day by day,
Right.
and it's increasing. So cost in renewable energy is dropping. And so it's an advantage that we also have to take around that area beyond addressing climate, issues.
For you, Yusuf, what's your reaction? Hello, Mr. Suleiman. What's your reaction on that?
Yeah, so yes, I pretty support that. I straightforward support that. I always mention the fact that in this power sector, we have to be able to diversify our generation portfolio to be able to encapsulate that of renewables. We've set ourselves targets upon targets, but we haven't been deliberate. We haven't made any concerted effort, to meet those targets. If you quite remember, somewhere 2010, we said by 10 years, let's say 2020, we're going to be able to increase our renewables. Our generation mix coming from renewables should have grown drastically, let's say to 10%. We haven't done that. 2020 came, we couldn't do that. We had to extend the deadline to 2030. So yes, it is a huge advantage, and we have the potential to do that. Just imagine we have even private homes inundated with a lot of rooftop solar facility. That's
Right.
going to take a lot of pressure from the grid, undoubtedly. It will take a lot of pressure from the grid. So it is in our best interest, and we have those opportunities. The sun is so much available in supply. We are not able to harness that. So these opportunities, what is the way forward? Ghana government will have to just open the space. Sometimes I thought the talking was that, we don't want investment to be there and then it will knock out the conventional generation mix or to compete with the conventional generation. We have moved beyond that. Now we need competitive power. And renewables, they are coming in record speed. With innovation, we can have solar. They have their challenges because of the seasonal nature of them. But with concerted investment in innovation, we can have competitive power supply that can guarantee us our power security within the sector. So yes, I pretty much 100% support the fact that if you get our act right in the space of renewables and we have the potential, yes, we'll be able to solve most of this problem. If it's not going to solve any problem, but it will take a lot of pressure from the grid. Right now, there's a lot of pressure from the grid. And where we have competitive advantage, we are not utilizing it to our optimum ability. And that's where we are. So yes, I believe renewables are something that can guarantee us, the security that we need. We only need to open the space for private sector participation and make it easy. I mean, we can give incentives for private sector to enter into the space. If we do that, I believe it is something that will guarantee us a lot of security in the energy sector.
So moving forward, gentlemen, I want us to propose those solutions. You've already proposed some of them, but I want you to address, if you look at WAPCO and maybe the IPP situation, what can be done to ensure that the financial burden is eased and that we can meet our commitments and forestall power outages. What can be done by the upstream, the downstream, as far as our power situation is concerned? What should government do? So solutions moving forward, itemize them, 3 minutes apiece and 2.5 minutes, I think, and we can wrap. I'll start with you, Amoasi. Nana, are you with me?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Good. We must address leakages in the transmission and distribution segment of the power sector. Manage the technical and commercial losses. That is one. Two, political interference. We must see and ensure that we allow the state entities to work freely. Number three, the cash waterfall system must be seen to be working. Very, very important, so that the little revenue we collect can be fairly distributed. Then also, ESLA must be accounted for and must be applied for its intended purpose. The other bit I also want to touch on is that government must engage with the independent power producers, on a very good footing, so that the sector debt can be well, brought to the fore. If you take their revenue and conclude that this is the amount you owe them, when you know very well that there are exchange losses, foreign exchange losses to be dealt with, and there are idle capacity charges to be dealt with, then of course you are not being, open enough to accept your problems and address them adequately.
All right. I see a message coming through that says, so after all this excess capacity talk, we'll be running into Dumsor again. And I can't read the end of what you write. It's not good for Ghana, but someone not being very optimistic about the situation. For you, Yusuf, what will be your concluding words on that? Hello, Yusuf Suleiman. Yes. Yes.
My concluding words will just, I'll just add to what Nana said. The point that he mentioned, I pretty much support that. I think we need to get our acts right with respect to our generation, our revenue generation. What we need to do there, we have, I can guarantee, I can say we have short to medium term and we have long term. The short to medium term or the short term that I can say is to get our revenue generation right, because that is what we can do now. That is what is available for us to be able to do. And how can we get it right? I think ECG need a bit of autonomy. And I think the kind of strategies that they have put in place in recent times, I commend them. And I think their leadership and the MD is doing pretty well. He just had to get, he needs support. And the support that he needs, we need to minimize a bit of, I think Nana mentioned that already, we need to minimize a bit of one way or the other interference as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, the distribution chain is our heart. If we get it wrong, all the other chains, we are going to get them wrong. So yes, just imagine we are told Parliament of Ghana owing about 23 million Ghana cedis. That is so humongous, if you ask it. And then there are other allied institutions that are owing that much, that is linked to government. So I proposed some time ago that if ECG even is finding it very difficult to tackle agencies that are linked to the government, they can privatize that portion of the revenue generation to private hands, ensuring that they'll be able to take that money from those who owe. Other than that, if you don't make concerted effort to retrieve the money with the power supplied to ECG and we cannot get the money, I think we're going to have ourselves to blame. Long-term solutions, I always say that, I started with the fact that we can't keep doing the same thing, and expect different results. Look at our power pool. Over 60 to 70% thermal generation mix. Where is the thermal coming from? Gas is our conduit. Now, we are operating our sector like the power and petroleum sector like segregated entities.
Right.
I recommend that long time that we link the two, where the power sector will supply, the petroleum sector will always supply gas to the power sector on commercial basis. If we do that, I think we're going to have the long-term solution to this issue that we have. Ghana gas has to be retooled and made vibrant to be able to supply gas on commercial basis, competitive basis to the power generation mix. If not that, we're going to have ourselves to blame.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Amoasi VII is Executive Director, Institute for Energy Security. He joined us. We also had Yusuf Suleiman, an energy expert, joining us all the way from Oman. Do stay with us. We'll be back with more action on the AM show. Action, pertinent, germane, relevant to your life. We'll be right back.